I'm Jeremy Nicholas, and this is the After Dinner Show, and I've got some fantastic guests for you this evening. Born without arms, not without attitude, Nicky Abdinor is a clinical psychologist and inspirational speaker based in Cape Town. She loves the sound of the ocean, a good night's sleep, and is willing to be paid in sushi. Hi, Nicky.
Hi.
Dominic Colenso is an actor, an author, and a communications expert who's flown a spaceship, lost $1 million, and been fired by Simon Cowell. Hi, Dominic.
All true. Hi, Jeremy.
Fantastic. I can't wait to hear some of these. And Kym Hamer is a marketing and branding strategy expert who left Australia in January 2004 and has been wandering around London ever since. Hi, Kym.
Hi, Jem.
Fantastic. Right. Okay. Now, because we've got a very diverse group of people here, I've been upstairs and got the globe. Oh, so we're in my kitchen again tonight. And my guests have already pointed out that I haven't done the washing up. But this is the after dinner show, and I've literally just had my dinner. And it was enough to get the dog out and upstairs, and because he kept whining. So let's just have a look. So that's where you're, Nicky, right down the bottom there, isn't it?
Yes.
That's Cape Town.
So beautiful.
Yeah. And then Australia. Now, is it Melbourne? So where's that? Sort of about there somewhere?
No, more over to my right. Go towards your nose. No, towards your nose and down.
Thank you.
Yeah,
okay, I learned this.
I think that's about Uluru, but it'll do. It's fine. It's a big place.
Yeah.
Melbourne's down the bottom.
I learned this week that Australia is wider than the moon. Did you know that?
No, I did not.
Yeah.
It explains so much.
Yeah. Quiz question is the simple one. You can try it out with people. What's widest, Australia or the moon? And the answer is Australia. But I don't know any more. I don't say how wide. I don't know. All I know is that Australia is wider than the moon. And Dominic, I should be able to find you quite easily because it's where I live as well. It's that bit there, isn't it?
A little bit there. Yeah.
Everyone's favourite bit of the globe that's invaded all of the other countries on the globe. So that's all lovely. Brilliant. And Nicky, we share something in common, Nicky, because you're originally from East London and I grew up in East London. So yay.
Yes, just my East London is very different to yours.
Yes.
It's on the African continent.
Yeah. So what is your East London like then?
It's quite a small town. I don't know how I could compare it to a British town, but it's a very small knit community. People, everybody knows each other. I always say, if you're from East London, you're probably related in some way or another.
Sounds very similar, to be honest.
Yes, there's a lot of inbreeding. Okay, we get the picture. Yeah. So I would say that if that was in the UK, that would probably be Norwich then. So that's lovely. So I'm gonna go around you all in turn, but I just want to sort of trail ahead and say, Dominic, we're going to talk about you because you were in the Thunderbirds movie, weren't you? And we're going to talk about your audition.
Yeah.
Now, which one of the Tracy brothers were you?
I was Virgil, which is why I'm wearing green today, just to kind of remind you.
Oh, right. Okay. Well, I can't even remember what Virgil's claim to fame was.
Thunderbird 2, so the big green space.
Oh, the big green one, yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay. And why have you been wandering around London all this time, Kym, being an Australian? Why?
Well, no one wants me back. And I keep having trouble with the language, which we'll talk about, which gets me just into trouble. So
we will do. Right. Okay. Let's kick off with you then, Nicky. So you were born without arms, and tell us the story about learning to drive. How did you learn to drive, and you know what poor instructor did you put through?
Funny you should ask that question. I think the guy is still having therapy today for post-traumatic stress disorder. So it was always a dream for me to be able to drive an adapted car. And in South Africa, the technology was never available. So I actually went over to England, where I was very fortunate that somebody donated a car to me that was specially adapted. And I had to bring it over to South Africa and learn to drive. So this technology was completely foreign to anyone in South Africa. And I had to find somebody that was going to help me learn the rules of the road. And I remember calling up a guy and he was very keen. It sounded quite interesting to him. So he arrived at my house. I was in my early 20s at the time. And yeah, that was just the other day, really, 2 years ago. And he took me for a drive. And something that I do, I mean, a lot of people want to know how I drive, is that it's a hydraulic steering system that I use with my shoulder. So if I move my shoulder forward, it spins the wheel left. If I move my shoulder backward, it spins the wheel right. It's super sensitive, like hydraulic steering on steroids. And because I was fairly new to driving, we went on a back road, quite a busy road outside of Cape Town. And there was some gravel on the side of the road. And what I didn't know as an inexperienced driver is that when your wheel touches the gravel, you kind of get a fright. And your instinct is to counter steer massively with hydraulic steering. So I found myself spinning the car in circles in a very busy road. The windows were wide open. It's a black car. You know, in England, they don't think air conditioning is really important. It was super hot in Cape Town. I had sand all in the car. I mean, both of us were totally frazzled. The car eventually came to a standstill, and I don't know, there was somebody watching over me because cars just stopped and they were far away, which was great. And in my own personality, I just took a huge breath, and he really was calm at that stage. And he said, let's just move over to the parking area. We sat there. I took a few deep breaths. I was totally freaked out, thinking I've spent so much time and energy to get this car to Cape Town, and I've almost totaled it. I didn't even think about my own safety. And then all I remember saying to this guy was, whatever you do, do not tell my parents that this happened. They'll never let me drive this car. So we went back home, and then I remember my parents saying, why is the car so dusty? And we're like, oh, we went on a gravel road, really windy out there. It was terrible. But anyway, and then I said to the guy, okay, well, we meet next Saturday. And again, he went, oh, I forgot to tell you, I've actually got some work that's happening in Johannesburg. So I'm not going to be able to teach you to drive, but I'll find a lovely colleague that can help you. And he was never to be seen again.
You scared him off.
I totally scared him off. And I wonder if that guy still is scared of seeing any black Honda on the roads. But the one thing that I learned, I think there's always a lesson in everything. It really taught me the power of the car. So I am super careful, even to this day, even though it's been many years since, that I take those corners a little bit cautiously now.
I'll bet that guy is somewhere on someone else's after dinner show telling exactly that story.
Yeah.
The day I nearly died.
And because you are a psychologist, you could probably help him with his trauma.
That's why I pursued the career in psychology, to help him, but he just won't take my calls.
Well, what an extraordinary story. Are you still driving the same car? Because I can't imagine there's many of these special cars around, are there?
Quite amazingly, I am. Whenever I speak to the adaptation specialists in the UK, they cannot believe this car is still going. But in Africa, we believe in quality and keeping things going. I'm waiting for a self-driving car next.
Yeah.
Elon, if you're watching, just let you know.
That would be fantastic. Now, one thing I find when I'm driving is I mainly need my hands to make gestures at other drivers who are not being very considerate, shall we say. How do you cope with that? What do you do if someone's cut you
Quite
up?
possibly you are experiencing a lot of armless drivers on the road, because armless drivers can never say thank you. And this is the problem. So I always seem like this really aggressive driver cutting in lanes, and then I can't even wave to say oops, sorry. So maybe those people you want to gesture to don't have arms. It's not their fault.
It could be. Nicky, thanks so much for coming on the show. Let's go to Dominic then for news of another amazing vehicle, Thunderbirds 2, which is still going after all of these years and in my childhood. So, yeah, how did you get a part in the Thunderbirds movie? So I remember Sienna Miller was Lady Penelope, wasn't she? Ben Kingsley.
Sophia Miles.
Oh, was it Sophia Miles? Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I knew it was someone I fancied, but I couldn't quite remember the names. But I got the initials right, didn't I? Got
You
the
did,
initials.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Good. And was it Ben Kingsley as the baddie?
Ben Kingsley as the baddie and Bill Paxton as our dad.
Right, Mr. Tracy, Jeff Tracy, was he?
Jeff, yeah.
Yeah. So, were you quite a junior actor at the time who suddenly got this call up for this Hollywood movie?
Yeah, absolutely. It was one of those kind of out of the blue things. I'd done a couple of bits of TV at that point. I'd just come out of a theatre show down in Chichester, and the phone went, and this was in days pre-email and all of that sort of stuff. So you saw your agent ring in, got very excited, and she said this casting director called Mary Selway wants to meet you for Thunderbirds. They're casting the Tracy brothers, and Mary Selway is probably one of the kind of greatest casting directors of all time. She did, Star Wars, with Nell and I, Love Actually, Indiana Jones, you name it. Mary was the casting director on it. So I got incredibly excited about this audition. My agent was trying to keep me calm. So she just said, look, it's just a meet and greet. You need to go off to Twickenham Studios. You're going to go meet Mary, just have a chat. So turned up at the office, kind of very green, shall we say, and rather puppy dog excited and enthusiastic. Sat down in the room with Mary, and she was just sort of asking me about what I'd been doing and what drama school was like and all of that sort of stuff. And then she got round to talking about the role, and she said one of the problems that we've been having is that we're struggling to find British actors who can do the American accent, because this was being shot in Pinewood Studios. They obviously didn't want to spend loads of money getting big name Hollywood boys to come over, so they were doing it out of London. And at that point, I kind of thought, right, make or break moment, I'm going to go for it. So I just said, well, great news, Mary. I actually went to an American international school, which is true. I spent a couple of years out in Germany. And I said, while I was there, I actually picked up a bit of a twang. Many of my friends are still American. And while we were at drama school, we did loads of acting work and accent work. So absolutely no problem at all with the American accent. And she looked at me and she smiled. And she said, oh, that's great. Well, here's the script. Go off into the car park. You've got 5 minutes. Come back and we'll put you on tape. So she completely called my bluff. So I walked out into the car park, kind of, grey afternoon in Twickenham, and I'm looking at this script, and literally the longest 5 minutes of my life. And I thought, well, there's really no way that I can improve on this. It's going to be what it'll be. So walked back into her office, and now she's sitting behind the desk, and she's got the kind of camera pointed at me. And she says, all right, let's read the scene. So read through the scene. She's pretty passive as we do that. And I'm trying to look for all the signals, and nothing's really coming back. And she pressed stop on the camcorder, and she went, oh, okay, well, that wasn't bad. I think I'd like you to come back and meet the director at Universal Studios office next week. And I was like, oh my goodness, I've absolutely pulled a quick one. She hasn't noticed. This is great. So got up, gathered my stuff together. Thank you. And as I got to the door, she went, oh, and Dominic, yes. And she said, make sure you work on that dreadful American accent. So I spent the next sort of week and a half just absolutely on it. I got myself an accent coach. I was speaking to my American friends. And put in the work. And I turned up at Universal Pictures offices, and like 5 or 6 other people in the waiting room who look exactly like me. So I'm trying not to let that bother me. Walk into the room, meet the director, and the director was a guy called Jonathan Frakes, who was Riker in the Star Trek movies, and I was a big Star Trek fan, so I was like, oh wow, Jonathan, hold it, pull it together. And we sit down to read the scene, and Jonathan says, oh yeah, one of the big problems that we've been having is finding someone who can do an American accent. And Mary just kind of looked at him, looked at me, smiled, and went, well, Dominic's got it down. He went to an American international school. So you can imagine at this point the kind of pressure on this 21-year-old actor. Anyway, read the scene with Jonathan. There was this kind of pause, and then he stood up. He's about 6'3", 6'4", big guy, stood up at the table, pointed at me and said, "Now there's an American accent." And that was the kind of moment I thought, I'm going to get this. It's going to be all right. And then they kept me waiting for about 4 weeks.
Oh, brilliant. And then you finally got to hear it, and you did.
Yeah.
Now, I imagine a lot of the hard work in Thunderbirds was actually having all the strings attached to
Terribly difficult, yeah.
That takes a long time.
Surgical implants. I mean, it was, to be honest, it was like being at a theme park. Obviously, we didn't have strings attached. No. But it was amazing because everything worked. So, you got into the cockpit of these things, and you pressed a button and something lit up, and everything was on gimbals, so everything was moving as you were doing the scenes and stuff. It was fabulous. It was a kind of childhood dream come true.
It's impressive, but it's not as impressive as driving a car with your shoulder, I don't think.
Not at all.
Still
No.
Quite good. And I know that you don't do this, but do people ask you to do the funny walk like this? Can I just do it? Because I feel like I want to go out the system. I know you do the live action one, but I just remember it, when they used to all go on.
Should we do it together? It's kind of like that, isn't it?
Yeah. So I just felt like I thought, why would I have a Thunderbird star on the show and not get to walk about? Like, even though clearly I would be Brains if I was on it, because
you would actually. You'd be good as Brains, yeah.
Be good Brains, wouldn't I? Yeah. Right. Okay. Let's stay with lines and words and things, and let's go to Kym, who is an Australian.
Yes, I am.
And there's a lot of them in London, mainly working in the bars. Which is dreadful because it takes a lot of the work away from our South Africans. So I'm allowed to say that because my wife's South African and she's upstairs looking after the dog, but she'll be watching this later on catch up.
Excellent.
So yeah, Kym, have you ever had any trouble with Brits not having a clue what you're on about?
Yeah, quite a lot. And it's not just limited to Brits. But when I first came over to London, I came from Australia. I spoke English, and English people, British people speak English. I thought, kind of all the same, right? I'm not going to have any of these language difficulties, like if I was, moving to France or something like that. Anyway, I got over here and I was temping a little bit while I was sort of hunting for a more senior job. And I was in the offices of one of the major newspapers in London working in their weekend magazine section. So just doing some general admin temping type work, and that one of the team had been off on holidays for a week, and then before she'd gotten back, she'd actually broken her arm, so she was off for another week. So we were kind of having to pick up stuff in the background while she was away. So this meant there were a number of times when the editor would go, "Can you just go and have a look on her desk and see if you can find that thing she was working on?" So I was doing this several times while she was away. Anyway, she comes back the next week and she's sitting at her desk, and it's just a normal morning, and I was distributing the post. And I got to her desk and we were chatting and, said, "Welcome back," and how was it all, and all that sort of thing. And as we chatted, I said, "Now, I'm really sorry, but I had to go for a fossick on your desk while you were away." And her face went white. And I'm thinking, what have I said? And then it occurred to me she had no idea what fossicking meant. And of course was making that mean all sorts of other things. Now, fossicking in Australia, we fossick for gold. So fossicking is like rummaging around in stuff to find it. But I kind of, I thought everybody knew that was what fossick was, but clearly not. And then I was standing in front of her and I went, oh, and do you think I could think of another word for fossick? It was, I just went, I had to get some stuff off your desk. And I finally came up with rummage. But there was that real moment where I went, wow, you ain't in Kansas anymore, Dorothy. And it's funny, I had the same experience today, although on the other side of things, I've just picked up a Bayesian clients in Barbados. And they were talking about where's the lime. And I don't know whether you know that expression either, but apparently it means, where's the fun, where's the gathering, where's the party, all that sort of thing. But they're talking about Lyman and where's the lime, and I'm, for the first part, I'm going, I have no idea what this is. So
are you saying lime, like the fruit?
Lime, as in the fruit, yes.
Oh right, I thought you said where's the line, and I thought I've heard that in a few London clubs.
Yes, no, you probably said that. No, isn't this the line? I'm sure this is the line.
In the back of the line.
Yeah, exactly. No, lime, as in green fruit.
So how did you pack in the whole magazine business? And I want to say you were supplementing your income.
Yeah.
How did you? Yes, nods from Dom. He's a wordsmith. That's very clever, Jeremy. The magazine. How did you become an entrepreneur then?
Wow. Well, that's a very long story in between.
Well, we don't have time for that then.
No, exactly. So I spent many years working in sort of everything from big corporates to small family businesses in marketing and strategy. And 3 years ago, I had the opportunity to take a package. So I took the gap year I never had. And then when I went back to look for a job, I then realized that I was looking for this Kym-shaped box that just didn't exist in a business. So I was going to have to build it myself. So I actually became an entrepreneur in January of last year.
So when you say you've got a package and you were looking for a Kym-shaped box, I'm imagining you're working for Royal Mail in the sorting office.
Wow. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
It was a secret dream of mine. I mean, Dominic had Thunderbirds. I got Post.
And just one other thing I would ask you, what does Dutch Australian mean?
It means I'm even more direct than most Australian people.
Right,
so my father's Dutch.
Oh, I see.
And then, obviously I'm Australian and my mum's Australian. And even in Australia, I was considered really direct. So you can imagine the mess I made when I came over to the UK, when no one is very direct. Spent a lot of time cleaning up what I'd said, more language stuff, more word stuff.
Yeah. Now, talking of names for things, Nicky, I believe at home they call you the General. Why is that?
Well, my years of psychology studies has told me that I'm a perfectionistic over-controller. So my family call me the General because I'm always making the decisions. Like everybody has to run things by me first. And I got a new nickname actually not so long ago. As a South African family, as you know, we are spread all over the world. We don't like to just stay in one continent. So I have a sister in the UK and a brother in the USA. And we were traveling to the USA, my parents and myself. And, South Africans, we get very anxious at immigration, like people don't trust us. And whenever you go in immigration, especially in America, where it feels like you are an absolute criminal, you're convinced you've done something wrong. Like you must have cocaine in your bag, or you must have some like exotic fruit that you're not allowed in Australia. But here at the immigration, we were so exhausted from such long travels. And the immigration guy kept asking my parents questions. Why are you here? Who are you visiting? And they just always stared at me for the answer. So then I kept piping up the answers. And eventually the guy said, are you like the ringleader? So that's from the General, now I'm the ringleader.
Excellent. There's about 500,000 South Africans in the UK. And I think I've met nearly all of them. And they all spend all their time saying how brilliant South Africa is. And I just sit there quietly thinking, what are you all doing here then? If it's like, why are you all here? What do you want? When are you leaving? But I don't say that. I gave a talk at the South African High Commission in Trafalgar Square last year on the differences between the UK and South Africa. And that went down very well with everyone apart from my in-laws, funnily enough. Right, now I asked people to bring some things along to see if they've got anything. Just before we see those, I just want to ask Dominic, if you being an I don't want to be indelicate about it, but as an actor, a lovey, have you ever been a lovey and had a bit of a strop, like, don't you know who I am, darling, sort of thing?
I I got very, very close. One of the sort of strange things about being an actor is that everyone does everything for you. I don't think they trust you. They kind of put you into a cotton wool ball and keep you away from everyone else. So I remember very early on the set of Thunderbirds, suddenly coming to the realization of why so many actors have this reputation of being kind of out of control and difficult to work with. And it's because you can't do anything. So it was like, I think we were tending to get picked up about 5:30, something like that. They drive you onto set, and you get out of your car, and someone comes and says, do you want a cup of tea? And I was like, yeah, great, have a cup of tea. And like 25, 30 minutes have gone by, and I'm not getting my cup of tea. And I felt myself kind of in full on rage mode, about to demand. And it took a lot of effort to kind of step back and realize that in that environment, it's actually because everyone plays a job. And if you go and make your own cup of tea, then the third assistant director doesn't have a job, and the runner needs to be doing everything. And you have to kind of play your part. It was quite an interesting realization, and I have a lot of sympathy for people who have their diva moments, because actually you get a lot of your freedom taken away from you, and you get told what to do a lot. So yeah.
I think the only time I ever had a diva moment, I used to present the breakfast show on BBC London. And each week we would have a different work experience person that came in, and they were usually sixth formers who wanted to go into broadcasting, and they'd come in and they'd make us tea in the mornings and answer the phones and put the calls through to the studio and stuff like that. And they were just rubbish at making tea, because I'm very, very specific how I like my tea. I like my tea bag for 3 minutes brewing, but don't touch it. Don't poke the bag, because otherwise it gets bitter. Don't put the milk in while it's brewing. That's no good, because it'll clog up the tea bags, and it's a suspension, not, a solution. So in the end, I said, right, okay. And I drew up a list of instructions that the producer would tell the work experience person on the Monday. This is how Jeremy likes his tea. And I think they all got a little bit scared of me. But one of my tea boys, when he grew up, went on to be an actor. And his name is Jamie Thiexton. Have you heard of him, Jamie?
There you go, yeah.
He's now, you probably won't have heard of him, Nicky, but he's now the breakfast radio presenter on Heart FM. But he did quite a lot of acting. And he used to call me Mr. Nicholas.
You were obviously a real diva.
Yeah, which is quite formal. Well, and I used to present the sports show with a guy called Garth Crooks, who played for Tottenham and England, and then Manchester United. And he used to call him Mr. Crooks. And then I said, no, you can call me Jeremy. But Garth said, no, you can still call me Mr. Crooks. And he did until he left.
But there is an art to making a cup of tea. I spent several years working for Dilmah Tea, who's a big Ceylonese kind of brand. And you actually get to go to the tea factory, and they teach you how to make tea properly. And it is exactly as you said, Jeremy. You put it in boiling water, you don't touch it, it's 3 minutes. Lift the bag out and add what you want. None of this swirling around nonsense. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm guessing people can tell I'm not quite a connoisseur when I'm talking about a bag, because I think probably the real connoisseurs have the loose leaves.
Not that many.
No, but I always liked the bags. I always remember on The Young Ones, the classic TV sitcom in the UK, The Young Ones, and Rick used to get the tea bag, then he'd snip the corner off and tip the tea out into the cup. Right, let's see what you've brought along then. Kym, you've got a picture behind you, I believe. Now, what is that?
Yes. So this picture behind me, let me see if I can do like an Egyptian. So it's actually an Egyptian papyrus, and it's of the Book of the Dead. Now, in 1997, it was my first overseas trip. All my friends had done gap years and gone to Europe and Asia and all that sort of thing. No, I waited till I was like 28 and went to Egypt and spent an absolute fortune doing this fantastic tour. And all I wanted to bring back was a papyrus. That was all I wanted to bring back. So I fell in love with this. I thought it was such an acknowledgement of my first travel experience. And so I brought it back to Australia. It was all in one piece. I'd nursed it gently. And then I went to get it framed, and it's so big that they couldn't use normal glass. So they had to use industrial glass, which is about 3 times as heavy and a lot more expensive. So that thing there has hung on every single wall since I was 28. So it's not being given away. It's not going anywhere. Yeah.
And it must be very heavy. I mean, I'm glad that it stayed up on the wall.
Yeah, I don't dare touch it.
Now, you mentioned Egyptians there, and I feel like I need to do another little bit of acting out because I need to walk like an Egyptian. I don't know if anyone else wants to come. They do that, don't they? Sorry, I'm very keen on the acting out on the show tonight, but I realised that my head was way out of the shot there.
That's all right. We didn't need that bit.
Yeah. I think so. I usually do this show upstairs, but last week I did it in the kitchen and I quite liked the informality of it. But then I realised I hadn't done the washing up. And also I realised that the lighting's very downward. And because I'm just slightly losing my hair, I don't know if you've noticed, just slightly.
Really?
And it's very shiny on that. So anyway, that's
hairspray is good. So if you spray the skin with hairspray, it will take the sheen off it.
Is that what you do?
I was just going to say that. Can you get a coloured version?
Yeah. I can't quite see, your hair. I'm just going to put you on a speaker view so that we can, or let's just.
There's a pretty good full head of hair there. It's just, this is a lockdown haircut. This is, I shaved it off for charity.
All right. What it looks like to me is Action Man. Which, it might have been called G.I. Joe in some parts of the world, but if you paid a little bit extra, you could have one with realistic hair and it was a little bit fuzzy.
Thanks.
Like.
Thank you.
All right, Nick, what have you got in the background there then, that plant?
Well, I got this orchid delivered to me. I had my birthday in lockdown, in the days, that was in May, when I believed that lockdown will be over soon. And I'm just thinking that this orchid, I normally kill plants very quickly, and this orchid keeps going and going and going. And I've decided that this orchid is not dying, just like lockdown doesn't seem to die either. Very symbolic.
That's done well if it's still going from May, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's phenomenal. And is it real though?
Yeah.
Are you sure that they haven't given you a plastic one?
I have been watering it.
Right. Okay. And Dominic, what have you got to show us?
I thought I'd bring along, I was walking past the bookshelf and I saw my Maasai chief's talking stick, which I thought is a sort of thing that every speaker should have. So I thought I'd show you that.
Yeah, and what is a talking stick then?
It's a stick essentially.
But it doesn't say it doesn't talk,
on it.
Does it?
It doesn't talk. No. So when I was 18, I went over to Tanzania to teach English, and we stayed with Maasai. And at the end of the trip, very kindly, one of the people that I've been teaching kind of gave me literally the family talking stick as a thank you. So traditionally in the Maasai tribe, essentially the chief sits with his little stick, and then you pass it round for the person that's going to take the baton, essentially. So very privileged.
It's very handy for couples therapy. With a stick in hand.
Yeah. So it's like Lord of the Flies, where you've got to hold the conch if you want to talk.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Same principle.
And is Maasai? Is that Kenya? Is it?
Kenya and Tanzania. So I was in Tanzania.
Right. Okay. Because a mate of mine has had heart problems, and he went to the doctor, and the doctor said he had to have a pacemaker. And now wherever he goes, he has this little Kenyan bloke running alongside him. There we are. Let's just set up that gag. It's like
dear.
That's my standard Kenyan gag. Yeah, little bloke running alongside him. It works for Ethiopia as well. Any country in Africa where they're very good at middle distance running, that would work. And you can use that, Dom, if you want.
Thanks. I'll say. Yeah.
Don't
right now, I know it's been tough times in lockdown, so I'm going to give you all a chance to plug yourselves. So Nicky, I know you're a psychologist, but you do speaking as well. What's been best during lockdown, the speaking or the psychologizing?
Well, the speaking has always involved traveling around the world. So I will admit that I kind of got into my comfort zone with my psychology practice because it was there, it was available, and working online, it was quite an interesting adjustment. So I have been focusing more on my psychology practice, but also, exploring the virtual space. I've done a couple of talks, webinars, spoken at a few virtual conferences that were adapted. I was supposed to be in Chicago next week, which is really sad, but I'm waiting to see the trailer for 2021 and hopefully it's on the cards then.
Yeah, I've always wanted to be in Chicago, one of my favorite musicals. I want to sing that song, with the press gang when they do the... This would be a better punchline if I could remember what that song is in Chicago. What? He's called Billy Flynn, isn't he? Is he the one? Yes, good.
Yes.
All right, we can sort this all out in the edit. It'll be fine.
Yeah, exactly. But it's not Razzle Dazzle, is it?
Yeah,
Razzle Dazzle with all the feathers around him.
Yeah, the Richard Gere, his one.
Yeah. Razzle Dazzle.
Yeah. So that's right. We'll edit all that in. It'll be fine. Oh, hang on.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just hearing from the producer. This is live on YouTube. Wow.
Whoops.
Yeah. In fact, I'm just also hearing there isn't a producer. It's literally just my finger in my ear. Right. Okay. Let's go to Kym then. Sorry, Nicky. How do people get in touch with you? Is there a website they can go find?
The best. I know my surname's not the easiest to spell. If you're wondering, it's Lebanese origin, means servant of the light. So my website is nickyabdinor.com. Best to get me there.
Fantastic. And are you a bit Lebanese then? Is someone in your family Lebanese?
My grandfather was born in Lebanon. So
the answer is just yes. Then when someone says you don't need to give. We know how it works. Yes, my granddad. Right. Kym.
Okay.
Kym, how do people find you?
Well, they find me by Googling me, because I'm fortunate that I have a short name, but difficult spelling, if you like. So I'm Kym with a Y, K-Y-M, and Hamer, which is actually Dutch for hammer. It's H-A-M-E-R. So if you Google that, you will find me on whatever your favorite platform is, and you can get in touch with me on LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram, any of those.
Fantastic. I never knew you were a Hammer, because I'm a lifelong West Ham fan, and we call ourselves Hammers.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And so if you ever meet a West Ham fan, you have to do the crossed hammers.
Oh, really? Like that.
That's on the badge. But yeah, I knew I liked you, but I didn't know why.
Yeah, still don't.
It's funny, I like her, but she's Australian. I can't understand that.
Yeah, a lot of people say that. Oh.
Right, I've got this phenomenon that keeps happening, and it's happened in last week's show as well. Every now and again, I'll say something, and then my watch will say, interesting question. It's very disturbing, because usually you press it if you want Siri to give you a thing, but it seems, it's like, I think my watch listens to me.
Do you think?
Which is a little bit troubling. So so we Google Kym Hamer and just spell it very badly, and it will be right.
Correct. Yeah. Perfect.
Okay. And Dominic, how do people find you? Because you're up in York now, is it?
I am up in York, but global as well now in this new funny world that we're living in. Best way to find me is dominiccolenso.com, or if you want to listen to me, then head over to Audible and you can listen to my book Impact. So that's available on Amazon as well. Good place to start if you want to sort of find out about the sorts of things that I talk about around communication, leadership, sales, those sorts of things.
Yes, because we've just rambled on about acting, really, but you're quite a big player in the communications business, aren't you?
Yeah, well, I'd like to think so.
And I feel like I should give you a plug, because otherwise people think, he sounds like he does quite a lot of the stuff that Jeremy does. Maybe that's why he's getting him to talk about other things, but it's not. It's not. And one day we will do a collaboration together one day, I'm sure. And because I would like to fly Thunderbird too.
Well, there you go.
So that would be lovely. Brilliant. Well, thank you so much, guys, for coming on the show. I hope you all enjoyed it. I hope you're going to be all right for your early start in the morning, Dominic. And Kym, I'm going to be seeing you very short, because Kym and I are doing a big event together in Dubai. Let's talk about that, actually, just before we go.
Okay.
Just give that a plug. Big customer experience event.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're on the board of, and
yes.
what am I? I'm the MC.
You're the MC.
or
and
conference-
general organizer.
Conference chairman, I think we're actually saying.
Yeah, I think so.
Like a title.
Yeah. So it's called E3. It's a customer experience virtual conference. So it's over 4 days in October from the 19th to the 22nd. So if you look up E3CX Live, you will find all the information on that. All the details about, what's on, who's on. Jeremy not only is our conference chairman, but he'll actually be speaking on the power of storytelling, won't you? Aren't you doing some session about, I don't know, telling stories?
Yeah, I'm going to be doing a storytelling session. Yeah.
Yeah. And we're going to, you talked about an early start, Dominic. I think because it's all Dubai time, I think Jeremy and I have to start at like 5:30 a.m. in the morning and be bright and sparkly with people on a screen. So wish us well, but it's the 19th to the 22nd of October, E3CX, and I'm also doing a session on building brand new. So, I mean, there's loads. Look it up, get in touch with me, and we can talk a little bit more.
Right. Okay. So, see, I didn't really realize it was 5:30. I think I could be there certainly by 7.
Gosh, thanks so much. So shall I just turn up at yours at 5:30, let myself in, make a coffee, go without you?
Feed the dog, and there'll probably be a bit of washing up, which we don't.
Oh, okay. Yeah, exactly.
We'll green screen all of this out.
Brilliant.
That'll be fine. Okay, let's say we'll say goodbye to the people on YouTube, and then I'll just have a little chat with you as a team, sort out any travel expenses you've had getting here today, and we'll
Does
do
wine count?
Yeah. So say goodbye, everyone, to the people on YouTube. Bye.
Bye,
everyone.
Bye.